everybody, this is Carson, and this is a in-depth tutorial video on setting up the SMS integration using Callrail with your Podio Powerhouse Max acquisition software. Now, to have the ability to send and receive SMS straight from your Podio system, there are a couple options that you can use. Callrail is one of those, and this video is going to cover those instructions in depth. So if we hop over into our demo account here, just a reminder that from your seller leads, we've set up the ability so that when you're working, trying to follow up and trying to get in touch with one of your leads, we know SMS is a powerful tool. So from the comment area here in the bottom right, if you just type SMS:, you can type any message you want and hit enter or send that out, and it will go to them as a text message, as long as you've provided a proper or valid mobile phone number in their phone field. But Podio itself is not an SMS software, and it's not an SMS tool. So in order for these to actually work, we have to hook up something as the tool or the provider that actually sends out those messages and then receives the responses and passes those back to Podio. ClickSend is one that a lot of people use because it integrates really nicely with Podio. Callrail is the other most common one, and it provides a few more advantages, but it is a bit more complicated to set up. So that being said, we have this instruction sheet about the Callrail SMS integration, and we're going to be using this to take you through it on this training, and then you'll be able to reference it at any point to take care of or work on setting up your integration yourself. We mentioned before that the ClickSend has that native integration. Unfortunately, Callrail doesn't. That's why it takes a few extra steps, but it's not going to be super difficult. This instruction sheet will give you the details that you need. Just a quick little side note, a few very early installations of Podio Powerhouse Max had a slightly different template in the configuration and Callrail incoming notification app. And if yours happens to be that, if you're going through these instructions and you don't see the fields that we're talking about, please reach out. We'll help you get that reconciled and take care of that ASAP. But for pretty much everyone watching this, it's going to be exactly as you see it here. So last thing before we dive into the steps here is, because there are different options, we need to make sure that you go into your configuration app in Podio. And inside your configuration app, once you open your item, so our demo account here is called Amazing Home Buyers. You open that item with the configuration details, and you need to scroll down or navigate to the spot where it says, what is your preferred phone system for SMS automations? And if you're doing this tutorial, you need to set that to be Callrail. Now, there's a couple other fields you'll see below that are related to Callrail account ID. These Callrail fields are the things we're going to be filling out here in a minute. You can see I've already placed it in here, just confirming that everything worked for this demo account here, but we're going to retrace the steps for our training video. But you will need this open. You will be using this in your configuration app. All right, so if we hop over to our instruction sheet, we look at step one. First thing is that you need to have access to Callrail. If you don't have an account with them already, you probably want to use a different SMS integration. But if you do, or if you want to set one up, make sure you have an account with Callrail.com. And then there are a couple items we need to retrieve from there to put into that configuration app. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to go ahead and get access, sign into our Callrail account. And then we're going to talk about each of these steps along the way. First is that Callrail account ID. I've tried to link these to Callrail's support articles explaining where you can find it, but I'll also be showing you in this video. And for the account ID, you're going to come over. You're going to click on the My Account in the top left. And you actually see it right there. In this case, our account ID is right there. We can copy that and we can go paste that into our configuration field for Callrail account ID. Put that there with no dashes or anything, just exactly type the number there. Make sure you grab your own and only use your own Callrail account ID, not the example in our video here. Next, we need to get the Callrail company ID. And here's another link where you can see that. But the easiest way to do it is if you go and it's as if you're trying to edit the company name, then you will see the company ID. So let's just pop this open just for quick reference, since it's a little bit different on this one. It's not so straightforward. With Callrail, you can have multiple companies under one account. And so you have to make sure you get the right one and hook it up to the right one if you have multiple. You're going to click the account icon, go to the account settings. You're going to go to all companies, and you won't need to create it, but you're going to actually hit edit for edit a company's name, and that's when you're going to see what we're looking for. So hopping over back to Callrail, we've already clicked on it, but here it is, my account, and then account settings right there. Then we're going to come down to all companies. And if you have multiple, you'll see multiple here. If you just have one, it'll be the only one. You're going to come to the gear icon, and you're going to say edit company. That window tells you your company ID. And you're going to go ahead and grab that, copy that, and take that over to, again, the configuration app in Podio, put it in the matching spot for company ID. Okay. Lastly, for our Callrail integration, getting these details out of their system, we need to get the Callrail API token. To do this, we're going to go to the account again, but we're going to click My Profile and select API keys. You can create a new one, and then you'll be able to use that to paste it into Podio. So under My Account, then we're going to click right here for My Profile, and there's a little spot there that says API keys, and you're going to go ahead and be able to create a new one. Now, you may see some old ones or other ones in the table here. That's okay. They can be there. For security, Callrail does not leave that visible for longer than about 15 minutes because these API keys, they're literally like a backdoor key. If someone has that key, they could start sending out a bunch of messages, charging it to your system. And you obviously don't want that to happen. You want to keep your keys protected. But you'll get a new one, copy it. You'll go paste that into your configuration app here. You will be able to see the key here, but no one will even be able to access this unless you've invited them and given them a password and invitation into your Podio. And most likely they're never coming into configuration anyway. So anyways, those are things that you need on that part. Finally, we are going to choose one of our Callrail tracking numbers and set that as our primary Callrail seller phone number. So what that means, if we're back in Callrail, we click tracking. This gives us a list of all the tracking numbers in our system. And we need to have one of those that is our main dedicated one. So in our case, we've picked one of those and we've placed it in this field for our primary Callrail seller phone number. We've just placed it formatted as that. You can also choose to do this for a buyer phone if you'll be sending out buyer blasts and you want it to come from or route with a different phone number. But having this is just the fallback default. One huge benefit of using Callrail is that if you choose on your campaigns app, you can put a dedicated tracking number for each of your campaigns. Most people using Callrail, that's what they have it for, is they have these different campaigns going and they have a number so that they can track and say, oh, because someone called that number, it means they got that particular mailer or they saw a billboard on Main Street, whatever it may be. And in Podio Powerhouse Max on any of your campaigns that you create, you can choose to go ahead and put a dedicated Callrail tracking number if you would like. If you have one there, and then on top of that, if the lead that you're communicating with is tagged with that source, so let's go to Thomas Jefferson as this example, and if we come down and we look at how did you hear about us, the campaign field here, I'll go ahead and I'll switch that to our test one where we just saw that dedicated number. Because that test mail campaign has a dedicated number, if I type SMS for him here, it will go out using that familiar number, the one he's seen, the one that he called us on. And it's not going to use that primary default one unless either the campaign field is blank or the campaign listed doesn't have a direct tracking number. So that's one of the really cool features, important things to be aware of with this Callrail integration. Okay. Moving on, once you've gotten those pieces, you've gotten what you need from that side in Callrail for the moment, we need to now move and access our Podio workflow automation tool. If you aren't familiar with what this is, it comes with every premium Podio account, which it's required for Podio Powerhouse Max to have that. So that means you get this workflow automation for free. This is actually that back-end brain where all of the rules and cool features from Podio Powerhouse Max comes from. You don't have to get here often. The average user, as we stated, rarely needs to access it. But when you're integrating Callrail, there are a couple things that we need you to get. You're going to get there by going to workflow-automation.podio.com. You don't need a username or password. As long as you've signed into Podio already in that browser, it will just let you log in. And once you do so, once you've logged in, we need you to go where it says My Flows, and then look to the left where it says Webhooks, and you'll find the Callrail inbound notification webhook. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to come over here. I've already logged into the account. I see My Flows right there. And then on the left is where I see the webhook option. And then here it gives me my list, and I find Callrail inbound notifications. And when I click that, I don't need to edit it or do anything. I just need to get this URL. This is my webhook that I need to grab, and I need to copy that and keep that handy. From our instruction sheet, it talks about finding that webhook. Now realize, yours will be different. Do not use this webhook you're seeing in the example. Use your own custom webhook, okay? And now we're ready to move on to step 3. Once you've grabbed that webhook and copied it, step 3 is going back and inserting that into Callrail so that you can tell them, hey, I want text messages to be sent over to this spot, okay? So this little chart kind of shows step 1, click on settings. Step 2, click over to the library of options. Step 3, just type in webhooks and get that to pull up. Super easy. So step 1, settings. Step 2, make sure you're looking in your library. Step 3, come to the search, type webhooks. You should find it right there that you can click, and it now brings you into that webhook integration page. You may have other webhooks for other features, but what we're dealing with right now is the one that is called text message received. You'll want to come here. Yours will probably be a blank box, but if not, if you have other ones hooked up, you can just add another one. And you'll want to paste in that webhook that you found. Now, I'm not actually going to save mine because I've already done that, but you'll do it, and then you'll hit the update button. Once you've done that, you've taken care of step 3, putting that webhook back. Now, what that is doing is telling Callrail, anytime this happens, I get an inbound text message, I need to pass that info somewhere. It can't just live in Callrail because I'm not living in Callrail. I'm actually living over in Podio, so I want that information to be sent to Podio so I can see the message without ever leaving Podio, okay? However, please note that Callrail, what makes this integration a little more difficult is unlike the ClickSend direct integration, simply passing that info over to a webhook doesn't do us any good. That webhook has a flow, and that flow tells it that every time we get a notification, we've got to go stash that in Podio. And just FYI, what it's doing is it's coming over to an app called Callrail Incoming Notifications. And it's going to that app and it is stashing the information to say, all right, here, I got a text received from this number, and it stashes that info here with the text message, the phone numbers, everything that you need. We then have some flows that you don't have to touch. We've built in this back-end workflow automation that says when it lands here, we've got to figure out where this goes. We have to check and say, is there a seller lead with a matching phone number? If so, let's take that message they just sent us and go put it over on their seller lead page. If we can't find a lead that has that matching phone number, we're actually going to submit it into a lead entry and say, hey, this needs to be reviewed. Is this a new lead that we want to start tracking? But part of what you've done by inserting or creating this webhook integration is making sure it can get to Podio, it lands in this spot, and then the workflows that are built can figure out what to do with it and pass that info along where you need it to. So that's what step 4 is really all about. You don't actually need to do anything here other than understand. This is a learning step. Understand what's going on. Please take some time to read through this and know what to expect. Now, step 5 is testing. We always recommend when you put a new integration together like this, go ahead and try it out. Create a seller lead, put your personal phone number, and make one of those comments that begins with SMS. Type something, send that out. You should receive it from your Callrail number. You should be able to type a reply, and that will come back and show up in that leads file because it matches the phone number, and it'll say new text received from that person. So once you've done that, you are good to go, and you have your Callrail integrated and set up for Podio Powerhouse Max. If you run into any issues or have any questions, don't hesitate to let us know.